Simple Gifts, it became the title of a painting that's become very important in the life of this church, and as it turns out, many of our churches across the country. One afternoon, I went to visit a member of our church to have lunch. I went to his office. His name is Jack Allen. And when I came into the foyer of the office building, I told the receptionist I was here to see Jack, and she invited me to sit down there in the foyer while she called him to come meet me. And as I was sitting there, I saw just this stunningly beautiful painting hanging on the wall, and I could tell it was an original watercolor. And so I got up to look at this painting so that by the time Jack came out to see me, I'm standing there with my nose against this painting, just marveling at it. And he says to me, "I see you noticed the painting here. Let me tell you a little bit about it. In this painting, it expresses the values and the mission and the purpose of my company." And he went through and he described each of the objects in this painting. And by the time he was done, in about 4 or 5 minutes, I had heard the story of his company, a very inspiring story. So we had lunch, and it was wonderful. This was back in 2001. And then I came back to a staff meeting here at the church after lunch, and I was telling them about this painting, and I explained the purpose, the mission, the values, and the vision of his company. And they thought, that's pretty amazing that after such a short visit, you looked at this painting and you were able to now share the story of his company and his organization. They said, we need a painting like that. And so with the generosity of some donors in this church, including Pat Gordon himself, the artist, we commissioned a painting of our own to describe the values and the vision and the story of All Souls. And so today, we're going to describe to you this painting, and our choir, 6 of our choirs, are going to sing along with us to punctuate the meaning of this wonderful painting. So the very first object is the table. It's the foundation of the picture. It's an antique table from the American Revolutionary War era in New England. And we have this as the foundation because Unitarianism and Universalism both started during those early years when this country was fighting for independence from England. And so it was out of that same historic, political, philosophical milieu of this country that churches started to ask similar questions about wanting to have a church that also was grounded in values such as freedom and democracy and justice for all. And so what came out of that were the Unitarian and Universalist churches, which many people have said is the quintessential American faith, a faith grounded in the very same values, in the very same ideals as this nation, the United States of America. With that, I'd like to invite our cherub choir to come forward and sing to us about the welcome table, because as our church has continued to evolve, as our nation has continued to evolve, so has our understanding of ourselves and these ideals.
There it is, the first book on the table. You may have noticed in the painting that there are 3 books, one piled on top of the other, and the first book is the Bible, which represents our roots in the Christian tradition. For 400 years, our congregations and our communities used the Bible. The Bible was the sole source of revelation and inspiration for our covenanted communities. And then along came Emerson. Ralph Waldo Emerson in the 19th century was a great thinker and writer, philosopher, and theologian. And he, with other transcendentalists of his time, people like Theodore Parker, Henry David Thoreau, Margaret Fuller, they started reading and studying sacred texts from the East, even translating the Bhagavad Gita, and they started to say that there were other sources of wisdom and truth and understanding, especially in these ancient traditions from the East, and as they started to reflect and read and expand their sources of insight and understanding, they started to include things like reason and science and nature, saying that each and every one of us have a direct relationship with the divine and responsibility for our own seeking and our own spiritual journeys. So our tradition expanded through the 19th and 20th century, is still expanding today in the 21st century, which is why the third book, the Untitled Book, is actually a blank book, like one you'd pick up in a bookstore and give to somebody as a present for a journal. There's nothing written on the cover. There's nothing written on the pages, which represents our understanding that revelation is always unfolding, is still happening, that reality, the essential nature of reality, is still being revealed to each one of us, even through each one of us. It's ours to express and shape and articulate and study and understand and re-express. So really it's we, it's you, it's our children and our grandchildren who are writing and will write the future of this faith into the blank pages of that book.
The next object on the table is an antique ballot box which represents democracy. That's how our churches are governed democratically. We don't have popes and episcopacies and other things that tell us how to run our churches, but each community does so themselves democratically. A lot of people don't realize that on these shores of what we know now as the United States of America, the first democracies happened in our churches. We were beginning to elect our ministers and other lay leaders in the congregationally organized churches in New England before we became a democracy, electing our own political leaders. So democracy is a core value. That's why we vote on the budgets, we vote on ministers and other leaders within the church. The next object are the hearts. There are two hearts in the painting. We say every Sunday, love is the spirit of this church. We strive to love beyond belief, to put love at the center of our lives, at the center of our religious lives. More than belief even, what we believe, we try to act in a way that is loving and caring to all. And so we have two hearts to represent how important love is to the spirit of this place. And then the Statue of Liberty represents freedom. Freedom to believe, freedom to doubt, freedom to ask questions, freedom to study and to explore. We see, historically we've seen God or the divine or the sacred in freedom unfolding in human life. And so whether we go back to Moses and the Jews escaping slavery in Egypt, or we go back to the early Christians being persecuted for practicing early forms of Christianity in the Roman Empire, those who were seeking their freedom to believe, whether it's those who were fleeing England and Europe to come here to these shores for religious freedom, or the abolition movement, or the women's rights movement, or the civil rights movement, we see if we're looking for where is the sacred in this earth and in this existence, we find it in those movements for freedom in the world. And so freedom is a core value. Even when you think about scientists and others who were in early days, and still sometimes today, persecuted by the churches or by religion for their exploration of science, we see the truth and the principle of goodness on the side of the freedom for scientists and the freedom for all.
At the same time that we celebrate the many freedoms we enjoy, the freedoms from oppression, we know at the same time that it's our responsibility to use those freedoms to create more justice in this world, that there can be no peace without justice. So in this congregation, we focus not only on our own personal spiritual growth and transformation, but we focus on the transformation of the world beyond our walls. We work to make our society a better place and the world a more just place. We say in our covenant that love is the spirit of this church and service is our law, not the Quran, not the Torah, not the Constitution. Service is our law. We do the good works of this world all the days of our lives, or we tried to, because this religion is engaged with the real world. So those are the scales of justice. And above them is a beautiful vase full of flowers. The flowers represent you, the members of this congregation, each unique, each a gift to the whole, each distinct with different, diverse backgrounds and beliefs. But together, we are even more beautiful, we're even more powerful, and as a bouquet in that vase, we are unified in all our diversity.
Your true colors. Doom, 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 doom. Doom, 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 doom. You with the sad eyes, don't be discouraged, oh I realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can lose sight of it all, and the darkness inside you makes you feel so small. I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show me your true colors, your true colors.
The water represents God, or the source of life, if you will. It's such a wonderful symbol of this expression, because there can be no life without water, as we know, and it's within all of us. And so water is a really special symbol of the interconnected web of all life, that which nourishes and sustains life. It also takes many forms. Water can be ice or steam or liquid, and it has many different forms and shapes depending on what it's in. Just like in so many different religions and cultures, we see the divine or the sacred being expressed in so many different ways, and yet it all points back to the same reality. And then the water is in the glass vase, and the vase represents the church, the place where we come together to be nourished by one another and all of our beauty and diversity, and by the Spirit, the source of all life. It has clear glass, just like our sanctuary has clear glass. It's a reminder to us, even as we're sitting in here for 1 hour a week, we're looking out at the world. We're reminded that our religion isn't just something we do 1 hour a week, but it's what we do every day of our lives, in every action that we take in our lives, to be loving and kind to all. This is our church, where love is the Spirit. This particular blue and white vase comes from the Carpathian Mountains and reflects a very important part of our history and our heritage.
that the fact that our ancestors, our roots are in Europe and date back more than 450 years to the Protestant Reformation. You've heard a little bit about that already. For 450 years, there are communities of Christians who've been practicing Unitarianism. We have a partner church relationship with a church in Enlaca, which is in present-day Romania. So we will now enjoy as Katie sings Spirit of Life in Hungarian, and then we will join in singing Spirit of Life together in English.
You'll see the single flower sitting in the vase. It represents the individual. Individual conscience has always been an important part of this faith tradition. We also know that everybody comes in on their own spiritual journey in their own place, seeking their own answers, and the church tries to be there as a place to help each individual find their path, their connection to the divine of their understanding for what is sacred and holy and true in their conscience and in their life. So there's this interesting tension between the individual and the community, the bouquet of flowers and the individual flower. And so we remember both the individual and the community and try to do our best for ourselves, but also holding up the common good of all. Next, you'll see the dead oak leaf, which is sitting on the painting atop the books. That represents what we call in this church the mighty cloud of witnesses, those people who are no longer with us in this life, but who've been a part of this community over the years, over the hundreds of years. We stand on the shoulders of many giants, many men, women, and children who are no longer with us, but who are very much with us in heart and in love and in spirit. And so that leaf sits there as a reminder of all those, especially on this Thanksgiving holiday. Many of us are thinking about beloved people who are no longer around our Thanksgiving table, but still are very much a part of our lives. And the final symbol is the falling oak leaf. And you can see it's green and it's shining and it's alive. It represents life. But the artist, Pat Gordon, made it falling in the painting, a hard thing to do in a still life. But he wanted us to remember that life is fleeting. Life is short, in hopes that we would be inspired by this painting and by this tradition to use our one precious life to bring more love, to bring more justice and freedom and diversity, unity within the diversity of this world. And so with that, we remember our lives and what they're here for, their very purpose, their very value, and we uphold life and help each other through this life in good times and in hard times together. All our choirs gather to sing a final song to celebrate the full richness of this painting, of this faith, of this tradition. It's been said that America, that this country is a nation with the spirit of a religion. A nation with the spirit of a religion. And this Unitarian Universalism and All Souls represent a religion with the spirit and the values of this nation. May we, on this Thanksgiving holiday, be reminded of all the simple gifts and all the blessings that we have been given, that we are surrounded with. May we feel the beauty of this place and these people and one another and those who are long gone. May we have hope for the future, and may we enjoy the beauty of love and freedom, justice and unity for all of our days.
Evermore and evermore.
you're visiting with us online today. We love connecting with people all across the country and around the world, sharing our powerful message of love beyond belief.
There's something new happening here. You can now join All Souls as a virtual member. Our virtual membership is designed for friends who live outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and who want to engage with All Souls in a meaningful way.
You can be part of an expanding family, a global family really, wherever you are. If you live in Oklahoma,
Ohio,
or Orange County, California,
Canada,
or Cameroon. By becoming a virtual member, you'll be able to deepen your connections with members and friends here in Tulsa and with members wherever you are.
Each week, you'll receive special All Souls content tailored for you, our virtual members. Virtual members have access to pastoral care, to personal prayers, and also receive invitations to exclusive web events.
You can learn more, and if you're ready, you can become a virtual member today by visiting allsoulschurch.org/virtual membership.
We're grateful our ministries are having a positive impact on your life, and we want to share the good news of love beyond belief with more and more people. So no matter what, we need your support to keep this ministry growing and thriving, so please consider making a gift today. You can do so by texting
LOVEBB for Love Beyond Belief to 73256, or simply visit our website. You are a blessing in our lives. May you be blessed
and be a blessing.